Hello, twisted humans. Do you find yourself wanting to know more about the latest murder, conspiracy, cults, or haunting?
Then this is the podcast for you. We're bringing the most intense stories that'll keep you up at night. He was found guilty of voluntary manslaughter and felonious assault, but he was only sentenced to 5 months of probation.
And this would be the last time that anyone ever saw Fiona.
There are allegedly 2 women who also drowned in the first-class pool.
Was this the same glowing green that they'd seen in the darkness the night before?
He had refused to sit near the wagon cloth because of stains on it, which were most likely blood.
Join us every Tuesday for a glass of wine or sangria and a dose of true crime. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Sierra, and this is
Twisted and Uncorked.
Hello and welcome to Happy Horror Time. I'm Tim Murdoch.
And I'm Matt Emmert, and many non-horror lovers may remember today's special guest as Princess Elizabeth in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, or Monique Junot, the French exchange student in Better Off Dead. But we know her as fighting to be anything but dead in not one, but 2 Amityville films, having appeared in 1982's Amityville II: The Possession and 2018's The Amityville Murders, as well as a ton of other horror films. We are so excited to welcome to the podcast today, Diane Franklin.
Woo! Bonjour, hello, how are you? Thank you for having me on the show.
You were French the whole time.
This is true, I should look like this. Very
oh
nice.
my God.
Qu'est-ce que c'est?
That is amazing. We are so happy to have you with us today. How are you doing?
I am really good. I mean, I have to say it's been quite the year. If talk about horror, sometimes we don't even need to watch it on the screen. We can just live it. But yeah, no, all is good, right?
Yeah.
We're here. I'm healthy. My family's healthy, so I can't ask for more.
Great.
And you look fabulous.
I know she looked, just so for listeners here, and we'll have a screenshot from this, but Diane looks amazing. Incredible.
Thank you so much. And it's I think it's just I'm just trying to take good care of myself. As you get older, you trying to exercise and, and stay healthy and eat healthy. I've recently had to give up dark chocolate, which I love chocolate. Let me tell you something. I adore chocolate, but I've had to cut down, and that's been very horrific. Okay.
I feel your pain.
I can't even imagine. I think, isn't dark chocolate supposed to be the healthiest of the chocolates?
Yeah, but it's also saturated. I have to watch my cholesterol, I guess, right?
Oh.
That's the thing. And so I'm like, really? It's like, come on, I've been really good all my life. Let's what? So
I
anyway.
know, right? So, before we jump into your extensive resume, we read that before you got into film and TV that you did all sorts of commercials for products like Coca-Cola, Trident, Jell-O, Maxwell House, and which are some of our favorite things. I just wanted to know, how did you first get involved in commercial acting?
Oh, I started, well, actually it was funny. I started with modeling when I was 10, and then I didn't grow. So if you're asking me how I got into commercials, well, it was because I was 5'2" and didn't grow. So you can't be a model at that age, at that time. Oh my goodness, you had to be, 5'10", whatever. So it was a very natural move into that area. And I had a manager and an agent at the time, and I was in New York. Imagine 12-year-old in New York. I was on Long Island, but I would, take the train into New York for auditions, and an hour coming into the city, 5 minutes at the audition, hour back. Doing my homework on the train. I mean, seriously, what a drive and commitment. I look back and I think, wow, I just really was. It was just interesting that my parents were so open to doing that. That was really what was so lucky about it. But I went in and I did Coke commercial. I did a Coke commercial with Lori Loughlin.
Oh my gosh, controversial.
Wait, I know. Actually, that was Pepsi. No, it was Pepsi.
Oh,
No.
Don't tell Coke.
No, wait. Was it Coke? No, actually it was Coke. I'm sorry. Coke with Lori. I did do a Pepsi commercial at the other time. So obviously, those were different moments in my commercial career.
And Lori Loughlin is in Amityville III. You guys are so connected.
What a connection.
We're very connected. In fact, here's the weird part. we were with the same manager when I was 12 years old, like
Oh my
same,
gosh.
and it was a very small group of people in the management. So maybe 10 kids that were represented by this woman, Barbara Jarrett, and we had the same manager, so we would see each other sometimes on auditions. You never know if you're going to get hired together, but we actually did this Coke commercial on Coney Island, and we went to Coney Island, and they gave us hot dogs and drinks and Coke, and so we were. And I think Vincent Price is in the commercial. You can probably see it online.
Oh my gosh.
You know, it's funny. I was going to ask you, what do you think of all the commercials as the most memorable one? But I feel like, is that one of the ones, or is there one that stands out that you get like noticed for of all these commercials?
Well, I used to think it was going to be the Trident Sugarless Mints, because that was the first commercial where I had my curly hair. I never had, I always straightened my hair for auditions. And that was the first one I had it. But I think now what's been very popular is Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. And I never knew anybody even, first of all, remembered me, saw that. And I remember John Kerwin, he had me on his talk show, and he loved that commercial so much. And I thought this was really cool of him. We reenacted the commercial on his show, which was really, he had peanut butter and chocolate, and we're like, okay, let's do it. So
Wow.
it was very funny how memorable commercials can be.
Oh yeah.
And, yeah.
Are you kidding? Yeah. I mean,
But I'm a huge soap opera fan, and you did As the World Turns, and that's a New York soap, right?
Yep. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I loved working on the soap. In fact, boy, it would be very fun to work on one now that we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Love
What, did you have
soap
a crazy
operas.
storyline?
Oh, okay. So I had a great character. So I was very innocent. I mean, it's kind of funny. I was in the entertainment business, but I actually, as a person, was very innocent. I'm very like,
I relate.
I
relate.
yeah, Kim. very
I'm like the one who doesn't know what's going on. Like, you know what I mean?
I definitely relate.
Right? I'm like the one who's just like, I have a very upbeat nature, and personality. I don't look for darkness. That doesn't mean I don't have depth. I'm just more of an innocent person, and was very funny when I was on the show because they hired me to play the bad girl. And I was, but the girl on the show, the reason why they had me play the bad girl is there was a girl on the show, and she was like super duper innocent. And I was supposed to come in and corrupt her on the show. Like,
yeah,
I was supposed to be the bad girl, like bringing, like boys and drinking and, and getting her into trouble and
The
manipulating
worst.
her, right? Being
I like
the
her
worst.
already.
Which is really delicious. It's really fun to play someone who's bad when you're a good person. Do you know what I mean? You're like, I'll just explore this. This is pretty cool. But it's funny now looking back at that character, and my name was Lois Middleton. I was the evil girl who would hide my birth control pill in my sneakers. I tried to get Betsy to have like parties at her house when her mom was away. And then of course I get in trouble, and then I'm off the show in 6 months, but they have to get rid of the bad friends. You're out. But I think what was interesting was growing up, I really certainly, I never saw myself as the pretty girl, never. Okay. And I think there's a lot of girls who, probably can identify with me, like a girl who's, you always see other girls as the pretty ones. You're like, I always saw myself as okay, like just whatever, I'm okay, whatever. I just never saw it that way. But in casting, now that I'm older, I looked, yeah, you know what? I was the prettier, like not prettier, but pretty girl. And because of that, they would make me the bad girl because, like the other girl they made her kind of look more homely. Meantime, by the way, the homely girl was actually, gorgeous in person. And and so like, she was like, so experienced, and she was dating like an older guy, and
they put her, let me guess, did they put her in a ponytail and glasses, and they're like, now she's ugly?
yeah, exactly, that's the thing. And honestly, she was in real life, she was the more experienced one, and I was the innocent in real life. Like, we go and shoot a scene, and I'm like, don't you have to ask me a question, Betsy? Like, Betsy was like, she was on stuff. Like, all I can tell you is like, it was surreal. It was so weird as an innocent person going, okay, this is how it goes. So anyway, it always is interesting as an actor to work on a soap opera, and good training, people. If you're an actor, it is excellent training, because you have to memorize like dialogue, like a script almost certainly every week. But every day you might get new dialogue. It's pretty good. And you get like maybe one take, maybe two, right?
Oh, yeah. And so, I mean, as innocent as you were, did you grow up liking horror films? I mean, was that on your radar?
Yeah. And did any have an effect on you at an early age or anything that you remember?
So horror films, I have to say, this is super interesting, I think, for people who love horror, if you're young, because you don't know what happened necessarily in the 80s or the 70s. Horror was not considered a genre of, I would say, a highbrow genre. Highbrow genre. It was considered for actors maybe the low end of what you wanted to do.
It's so crazy to hear that.
I know, it is crazy because of how things have evolved.
Yeah, I mean, look at Scream. It's like everyone wants in it.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And so because of that, so the first horror film that I remember, so obviously when I was younger, I watched The Blob, I watched like The Invisible Man, I watched, on TV. Maybe there were some late night horror shows that were starting to show, but it was always very kind of B-rated and sort of like certainly not respected at the time. Psycho wasn't even as revered. Okay. It was like, okay, it's coming up and coming, all that stuff was sort of like, it's there, but we're not going to really give it any award.
Kudos.
Thank you for that word. So then what happened was when they did The Exorcist, that movie, also Jaws, that was the huge ones, but Exorcist even more so, because Exorcist was the film that was so horror. It had the special effects and it rocked the world. I mean, it really rocked America, because it had nobody understood special effects yet. So it was, everything you saw was something you'd never seen before. And everyone believed it. The head turning around, everybody really thought it was really happening to her. It was so realistic. And great little fact, I auditioned for The Exorcist.
What? Oh my God, I love that. Tell us everything.
When I was probably like just 12, 13, around that age. And I remember getting the script and I had no idea what all the cursing meant. Like, you beep and beep, you mother beep and beep, like I had no idea. I'm saying it like, and you are a mother, blah, blah, like
some of my favorite quotes from movies today still, by the way.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that was, and so I'm glad you said that, because the one thing about horror films that I felt, and you ask if I like horror films, and obviously that is a very wide range now because there's so many different kinds of horror. It's very boutique. The thing that I felt is it was always a rite of passage from childhood to being a teen, because really, all the sexual stuff happens a little later, 16, 17, even though you might be precocious, the horror genre starts it. And to me, like, the horror genre is like, so you're like 12 or 11 and you sneak down and you watch a film. Okay, maybe today parents are just showing it and their 4-year-olds are in the room. I don't know. Okay. I've had like people tell me stuff. I'm like, you saw that at that age? Where were your parents? So, and also, by the way, people, age restriction was very big in the
I grew up in that, definitely. Yeah.
Right? You could not watch horror unless you snuck into the movie theater or you had fake ID to watch a film, or because it
cable.
Wait, what was it?
Or cable. Yeah, that came a little later. First, you couldn't even see it on cable. First, it wasn't even, maybe there was a time, 70s, I'm saying, like, there was no way to see it. Then when you saw it, you had to sneak it. And then it maybe was VHS and cable. So what I'm saying to you is, to be able to go on the internet and say, I want to watch this film and be able to see it at any time is new. It is not a given. And it was not how our generation was raised. Okay. It was like, you had to have strategy to watch these things. So anyway, rite of passage. What I mean by this is, so you're a kid and then you sneak down or you watch that film and it blows your mind. And what happens is you're watching it at a time when you're so innocent, you haven't thought ahead, this is a movie. It is make believe. It is special effects. It is people getting up in the morning, having makeup put on, all these people in the crew, at the time there was not special effects wasn't even happening. It was actual on camera manipulation and how you shot something that made you believe it. And but you watch that film, you go to sleep and you have nightmares. And then the next day you go to your friends and say, did you see that movie?
Bragging
right.
You brag. It's a bragging right. Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, I'm not scared. No way. So that attitude is, to me, what makes horror films continue to be, at the beginning, certainly it's a rite of passage. It's like, have you survived? Can you go to sleep after that? So I definitely love, in answer to your question, I love horror films. And I think it's always been a thing where you watch it, and sometimes, I'm telling you, no matter how much as a actor or a person, you still get scared when you watch things. It catches you off guard, there's those shock moments like in Jaws, so big answer to your simple on point question.
No, that's a great answer.
Yeah, I love it.
We hear so many different things from people we talk to on here. Some people who are major horror stars hate horror. Some people absolutely love it. Some
Not
people,
even on their radar.
Some people, it took them getting involved with it to love it. Some people just, love the roles but don't love watching the movie. So it's such a all over the gamut, But when going into Amityville 2, that was only your second feature film, right?
Yes. And mind you, it was my second feature film, but I started at like 10 years old in the business. By the time I did that film, I was very seasoned in the entertainment business. I really had technique. I knew what to do, and I knew how to not be taken advantage of. As much as possible, that's what you can say. We'll get there. And I will say that one of the things, the cool thing about that film was I was 20 when I did that. And I look at it and I go, I look like I am 13.
Oh yeah,
you do. And I'm wondering,
young.
what was the audition process like for the film? Like, what did you have to do, and what did they tell you about your character in the audition?
And when you got the script, what were your initial thoughts?
Yeah, so all of that.
Good question. All right, so first of all, when I got the script, I had finished doing Last American Virgin. It had not come out yet. And but I was a lead for those who don't know, I was a lead in Last American Virgin. So I had a nice base of a strength of carrying a lead role. That was like, it's very important as an actor to look at something and go, can I do this? So when I got Amityville 2, first of all, I knew I wanted to do a horror film. It was definitely a bucket list thing. I definitely want to have that experience. And when I first read it, there were some controversial issues in it. And
whatever do you mean?
Here, what could it be? Well, on one level, there was a nudity, but on the second level, there was incest.
Yes.
Now, incest isn't something that has been in a lot of films, and certainly not to this point where it was this realistically done, in a sense. I mean, I'm not saying that the film is super realistic, obviously, because it's a story, it's in the narration, but it is definitely it was definitely not something that was a casual thing.
That's the great thing about the film, is that it does not shy away from it. It's just like, here it is. Yep. It's like, there's like, watching the film, it's just one of those things it's so unexpected
and uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable, but in a real way, like a raw uncomfortability. But sorry, but I want to know your initial thoughts.
And that is a quality that happened in the late 70s, early 80s. We're talking like, remember Taxi Drivers, late 70s, like that. This is a very important thing also about performances, is that late 70s was very raw, very real. You would watch things and you would be like, wow, that was so real. Even Virgin, very real. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, not to get sidetracked, but that ending, really quick. I mean, just a quick side note. Like, what do you think of the ending of The Last American Virgin?
Oh my goodness! Like, seriously, that is a whole discussion in itself.
I know.
I will just
like
say,
one sentence.
Yeah,
It was not a choice I would have made personally. But it was based on the director's true life, true story. And we thought he was going to change it even to the day that we were on set. Like, oh, well, you're going to change this, right? And he said, no, this is based on my true life and it's a real story. So the biggest thing about that ending was I had to alter my acting justification for that entire film. I had to like say to myself, okay, how can I make this character? I don't want you to see it coming. And I want you want me to be with him. And then how do I justify that at the end? Like, what am I saying at the end when I give that look? Mm-hmm. So it was a big deal. And I look in the film like that was my job, just to play the girl with like no, thought process.
Yeah, it was a different time.
Yeah, it was a different time, right? Different time. And now, but boy, I really had, you see how verbose I am. So you can tell that it was really good acting, right? So
absolutely. I'm sorry, back to Amityville.
Yeah.
Back to that. All right.
So you're reading the script, you're auditioning, you see incest, you see nudity, and your thoughts are?
Okay, so first of all, with the nudity, the first thing I thought was, I don't want to be hired for this role just because I do nudity here. I do not, because I had done nudity in Last American Virgin. And it would, actors, some people maybe don't think this way, but most girls who go into acting, they want to perform, they want to act. And to me, like, I was like, oh, I just don't want to be known for that. Because my kind of thing was, okay, 3 times and I'm done. You know what I mean? Like that was my kind of in my head, like, okay, I'll got one more, whatever.
Matt's done it 3 times.
No, I've done theater. I've been naked on stage in front of audiences. So
that would make me more nervous. But on the other hand, who's going to come up on stage then? Anyway, it's like, what? Hey, let's hang out. So but
literally.
Yeah, right.
Sorry, we're going on so many tangents. Great. Okay, go on.
So anyway, so that was the first issue. And then the second issue, now this is, okay, I'm going to go back to the incest in a second. So what I did like about the film was I said, okay, I'm from Long Island. This is from Long Island. I can relate. Like, this would be a great thing for me to be able to like, sort of, I just felt close to the material that way. The next thing was, I really wanted to work with experienced actors. And Burt Young, James Olsen, Retanya Alda were the actors that I looked up to and respected. And I thought, I would just love the opportunity to work with actors, because Virgin I worked with people that, not to say that, they were awesome and I loved everyone in Virgin, but I wanted to work with people who had done a lot of work so that I would be then learning from them as well. So that was definitely important to me. So now, okay, then when I saw the incest, this is the very interesting part. I don't have a brother. So I did not relate to the awkwardness of that. I had no, when I looked at that, I didn't go, oh, I have a brother and like, I can't do that. Super weird. That's creepy. I just looked at it as, oh, okay, well, that's, a guy and like, whatever. I just have to make it seem like I have a relationship with a brother. Like my main concern was, how would I treat a brother? That's a different relationship of something that I didn't have. So I actually had to sort of research and say to myself, okay, what's that kind of thing you do with your brother? Like, punch him on the arm or like, dude, like that, right?
I was going to say, do you think if you had a brother, you would have a totally different mindset? Because I can tell you, I have a sister and watching that scene makes me so uncomfortable in a good way because of the way you guys play it. But I just always wonder, if you had a brother, would you look at it completely differently?
I absolutely. I think I would have absolutely. It would have changed everything. It would have been super creepy. So even to this day, when you say to me that gives me the creeps, I go, well, I'm not okay, whatever.
The horror film.
You know what I mean? It's like, all right, that's your thing. I have no, I'm not like connected to that emotion with that. So that's why I think it's very interesting, because I'll get a lot of people when I at conventions and whatever, people come up to me and like, oh my God, that was like so crazy. People are blown away by the relationship dynamic. it is, I mean, it's raw.
I love it.
Well, but here's the thing.
People love it. People love the film.
If it wasn't
still
effective,
Yeah.
it wouldn't make me uncomfortable. So me saying I'm uncomfortable is testament to the performances, yours and Jack Magner's, because if it wasn't effective, then you wouldn't. If I didn't buy that you were brother and sister doing this, then it wouldn't make me uncomfortable, you know. And so it is. But I mean, that's the thing. So you obviously you got through that, and then you got the role. And so I guess what I was wondering is, you I think heard in one of the interviews that the director
didn't speak English. So was there a translator on set?
No, he didn't speak very good English. He spoke a little broken English, but he was very it would be like talking this, very serious and very, very direct. Because when you come from another country and you are trying to direct other people, your objective is to be clear. And so you tend to sometimes be very abrupt because you need to get that information and very clear to the other person. So my parents were European, so I totally got that. Like, I understood like his demeanor. I think sometimes people who work with European directors maybe don't understand that they are really trying to just communicate with you what they need. They're not mad at you. They're not angry. They're not, it's not their bedside manner. They're usually, very, jovial and fun, I mean, even with Boaz, like Boaz had the like dialect, too. So I've worked with different directors from different countries, and I've always been very comfortable with that. Again, because my parents had dialects and spoke, different languages. So Damiano, the funny part about Damiano is I didn't know at the time what he had done in the past. And so I just assumed all directors worked like him. I had, I worked with Boaz. I guess he was my second director and European. So I was very comfortable with like, okay, run around, do this, blah, 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 And so, so he was good. He protected everyone on set. He was very, directors set the tone when you're working.
Yeah.
So, they're like, everyone quiet, stay focused, everyone out who's not important, everyone like, and they're very much like, organized, like should be organized, like should be, we got to do this scene, we got to get out, so there's a lot of things hanging on the director. I also feel for directors because they are the ones that always get all the problems. Everyone comes up, oh, I've got a problem. And the poor director is like, I'm just trying to do art here. Okay. So like,
they solve everything.
How am I going to do this?
Had you, before you did this movie, had you seen the original Amityville Horror or heard or knew anything about the Lutz family or the DeFeo murders that it was based on?
Okay. So here's the weird part. I did know about Amityville Horror. I did see it. And honestly, the weird thing about it was it didn't scare me at all.
Really? Did Burt Young scare you more? Because I know he scared me more.
Burt Young in Amityville II.
That's
right.
I mean,
truthfully, I think his character's scarier than the demon.
I mean, like that dynamic of him roughing up the kids and like hitting the son, but he's actually nice to you. But I
love him. He's the best. I know, it's not funny. No, Burt has the best offstage manner. I mean, seriously, like. And this is where it comes down to acting with trust. Okay. When you work with professionals, the idea from actor to actor is that you can trust them. So what happened with Burt is that he could totally get as crazy and angry as he wanted on set. He knows, we all know, okay, everybody's got their job to do, right? And the minute the director says cut, that's when everybody can relax and engage. So what'll happen is if you've got a pro, the actor will be like, hey, you did a great job, that was awesome, or like awesome, maybe they stay in their own world if they've got to build up to a character, like sometimes they have emotional things, sometimes they'll stay in their own world, but actors try to engage each other because they need to develop each other's trust. Because if we're doing a scene and if Burt was really not a nice guy, you could say that I would have been afraid, but it wouldn't have, it would have distracted rather than embellished the scene to me. Yeah. I know that there are directors who really try to get people really, they set it up well, or they may just go, we want that person to be really shocked and we want to get it on film. So we're going to take them off guard. I think to me, that's BS. that is where the abuse comes from. That's not okay. You don't do that to actors. Actors need to know ahead of time what's happening, and then they will rock it. They will go. But if they don't know what's happening and you surprise them, that's unprofessional. So I mean, I have to call a spade, and especially in horror. I mean, horror is important. It's important for everybody to be engaged and go for it, And look, you're going to hire your person. You're going to have to, make sure you hire people who are qualified and who know what they're doing, so they can do it over and over again, not just that one time where you freak them out.
So you'd seen Amityville Horror, the first one. Did you know about anything or even learn about the DeFeo murders? Like, because I feel like, did you want to learn about that, or were you like, I don't even want to know about this?
Okay, good. A couple of good questions. First of all, Amityville II. At the time when we did this, there were no part twos were really not happening. In fact, when we did the film, we were like, who's going to see this? It's a part two. Nobody sees part two, right?
Except for us. Except for
the world now. I mean, now it's almost like, if there's a part 10, good, we're going to go through all of them. But it was, we really didn't know if it was going to come out in theaters. We didn't know if people were even going to see it. We always thought, oh, well, people are always going to go to the original. So, who knows if this is going to get any run for its money. So, what was the question?
Oh, the DeFeo murders, or how much you knew about that here.
I was young. It was 1974 when that happened. So I was 12. So I heard about them because I was Long Island, but I didn't know that much about them. And when I got the movie, I purposely did not research it because I knew my character had to be innocent. And if I was more aware at that time of anything that was going on with that family, first of all, it was supposedly loosely based on it. Mm-hmm. So Dino De Laurentiis was trying to stay away from anything that really was factual. I mean, frankly, I think I would have had to have my curly hair to play Dawn DeFeo. I mean, she had kind of wavy-ish, thicker hair, but whatever. But I stayed away from it because my job in that role was to be the most innocent, because otherwise that whole incest thing, you wouldn't have felt for me. You would have thought I had the devil in me. It was just like, it had to be, I had to be the voice of inness. And
you totally were, because like you're like hey, like, and he's just like
that's a good,
right?
Good explanation. No, it's true. You are. And so, and you kind of touched on this as we were going into the script, but horror films back in the early 80s are known for their focus on female nudity, obviously. But Tim and we kind of like on this podcast, we kind of like to even the score and ask more about male nudity or lack thereof in some of these horror films. Right? Because, well, first off, we're two gay men, and we're
you're going, wait, come on, what's happening?
And we're tired of everybody focusing so much on female nudity in horror movies. And so I do have one question, because I had read that originally there was like a longer love scene that was shot between you and Jack Magner that was end up being cut. So we have a very important question, and hopefully, did the director make Jack Magner be naked also during that love scene to make it, so it wasn't awkward just for you?
Oh, they wish. Or you guys wish, right? No, there was. Okay, as far as that kind of a thing goes, I never saw that in the script. Mm-hmm. But what happened was, when we were shooting the scene of Jack and I together in the bedroom, first, the still photographer came in, and they said to us, we want you to, it wasn't in the movie, but they wanted us to almost kiss. Like, they wanted us to lean forward. So I have like these photos of us almost kissing, like almost, not because I guess it was just like, that's the taboo. So it was just almost. And so they had us pose for some of these photos, which I guess are collector's items now in a certain way. Like, it's not something that is, but it was not in the film. And who knows? I mean, look, Dino De Laurentiis, I'm sure they discussed a lot of this. They were really trying to push the envelope. Again, you said, there was a lot of nudity for women. I, at that time, don't think that they were at the male nudity thing yet. I mean, you remember that? Like, do you remember like seeing
unheard of? Yeah.
Very rarely. I mean, I heard, and I didn't even know, was it Pretty Woman where Richard Gere was butt? People saw his butt.
American Gigolo.
American Gigolo. Okay.
Like a side frontal of Richard
Right.
Gere.
Yeah.
Okay, so like that surprised me, and I don't even know, was that an 80s movie, American Gigolo?
Yeah, I think it was
1980.
It was exactly 1980.
Yeah, but it was very taboo. But I always wonder because it's like sometimes, and again, and I swear I'm not trying to be pervy, but it's like they always, they have the film and they show the female nudity and they don't show the male. But I'm always I'm wondering, are they at least making the male be naked in it just so that it's not just the female? But I don't know how they do that.
Now that's a good question, because the next film I did, Second Time Lucky, I had, and by the way, I wasn't, nude during the shoot. I mean, essentially I had pasties on. So when you shoot nudity, you have covers,
Well, now there's like someone on set that's an actual
like
job.
an intimacy coordinator, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard.
Well, that's a huge, oh my God, that's huge. I mean, intimacy coordinator. I was the intimacy coordinator. Well, actually, usually what happens is the wardrobe people are helping. They give you robes. The wardrobe people are the ones who really watched over me when I did the nudity in the films I did. They are the ones who like go, okay, we're done here, take the robe. And, so they're very good at that. But when I did this movie, Second Time Lucky, we all were slightly covered up, a little bit. So it is interesting to, so yeah, there is an attempt to making it more not distracting. Okay. I have to say, I mean, let's face it, I think when in films, I'm sure it's distracting, and it's distracting to the actor. I don't even know how sometimes people could do their lines. So so I think, it's important to have the intimacy coordinated.
No, I totally get that. And, speaking of Jack Magner, who plays your brother in it, and I know you've been asked this before, but obviously it's known that other than Amityville II and a tiny role in Firestarter, he kind of didn't do much else. He kind of disappeared from the acting scene. And I know you've said in interviews before that he kind of kept to himself more on the set. And I'm just wondering, did you get the feeling like filming movies just wasn't kind of what he was passionate about? Like, and has anybody from the film been in touch with him since Amityville II?
Yes, Britannia's been in touch with him, so she is close with him, which is nice.
Okay.
Oh no, he was very passionate as an actor. He loved acting. He was totally into his role. And I will say something fascinating to me when he isolated to do his head and play his character, because look, actors, when they get a part, they are usually, most of the time, very grateful, and they want to do the best they can because they know it's their moment. It's their moment in time, and it could lead to other things. And but I did find it absolutely fascinating that he, as well as in Amityville Murders, the one I did in 2017, John Robinson also isolated. And I think for me that was really interesting because in the two films, those characters isolated more because they were playing a guy. I mean, so what we're saying is when they weren't on set shooting, they went in separated from the cast. They you saw them in the corner, they were thinking, they were brooding, they were in their world. So, and look, as an actor, that's part of the work. You get into your zone, and everyone's got a different method, and a different way they stay connected to the character.
Yeah. And but then when he disappeared from the scene, I guess, did he just pursue a different career path, or I guess I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've tried to get in contact with him myself. I think that he's in, I think he just took a different path. Like I think maybe it was over, maybe it was just, I mean, just because you're an actor doesn't mean that's the only thing you want to do, or perhaps maybe it's the thing that, is the most important thing. So, I mean, it is interesting. Sometimes people do a very, big role, and then they isolate because maybe they have to deal with some issues and some things, or they have their private life too. So not everybody is as open or willing to talk about it as I am.
I was just thinking, what if we were like, and welcome our special guest surprise, Jack Magner. We suddenly he's on the Zoom and we reunited with Diane Franklin. No.
Yeah. So I would love that, but I mean, I respect, where he's at. So I don't know.
No, of course, no, totally. I mean, so okay, so your big climactic scene in this film is so terrifying. You can, and the thing about this, and I'm talking about when the whole family's being shot and you're witnessing it and running away, and you can truly feel the fear that your character is experiencing, you know, seeing her brother shooting every member of the family and then trying to get away. It's just so effective. And to compliment you, it really wouldn't have been as effective as it wasn't if it weren't for your stellar performance. Seriously, like especially that scene, it's just so palpable. You can really feel it. So one, I just wanted to call that out. And two, I needed to ask, like, well, of course.
So much.
But how traumatizing was that to film? Because even knowing that it's not real, to get in the mindset of witnessing your family members being shot, like, how did you even process that?
Oh, okay. So another thing, first of all, the other thing is, remember, because it's film, everyone who gets shot, you don't see them dead.
Yes.
Okay, you see or you see them, if they're dead, it's the reaction shot. So you don't see the when we were doing it, certainly I never saw Jack's his shots mixed with the victim shots until the film was done. So it always was like, even with the kids, when the guy was after the kid, when we shot, there was a scene where, I say, oh, the little kid, like, hide. It was a shadow. It wasn't even me seeing him with the gun. And, obviously the little kids were, adorable and cute and sweet. And so, I was like, hide. And, good little actors, they run and hide, but then they go, okay, break. And then they leave. And so, they're totally fine. They go to craft services and they have like, a snack bar. So, it's like, you keep it light. I mean, these are kids, you don't, it's more interesting to me that when, how the kids, that would be an interesting interview, because to me, like, I was old enough to handle all of this. But as a kid, you're like, there's certain scenes sometimes with kids where, it's heavy duty. On the other hand, when they usually shoot with kids, the kids don't have any idea maybe what they're reacting to, what they're, maybe the director's like, big eyes, like, you never know how they're working with them. So the thing I would say is usually little kids do not see the film until they're way older, or they see a clip of just their reaction, because, certainly you don't want to see, yourself in a situation. I know when I worked in Amityville Murders with a little boy, the little boy who played the youngest in the family, he was such a very good actor, but he liked horror because he saw it as make-believe, and he understood that it was make-believe. So he was, I think, fascinating with the filmmaking of it. But anyway, the idea of the sort of the special effects and all that stuff comes later. So while you're shooting it, it's not as traumatic.
Yeah.
Now, experiencing it as an actress. Okay, so when I shot that sequence, we shot it on a soundstage in Mexico City. And I was down there by myself, 20 years old, shooting that. And I had to go on every day. I had to wake up and be hysterically crying, like, for 30 days. It was just like, okay, get up, hysterically crying, go. And I could get there and I can do that. But what happened at the end was I got a shock of gray hair. So remember that, people. if you're under a lot of stress, it will affect your body,
Wow. You really, that's like Nightmare on Elm Street, Heather Langenkamp, when she has all the bad dreams and gets gray hair. So it really turned a part of your hair gray. Wow.
At 20
years old, I had a shock and I was like, oh my gosh, now I got to color it every month. So like,
oh my God.
Yeah. So
when the movie's all done and wrapped, was there like a red carpet premiere or any, because I know it's a different time.
Or a cast and crew screening? Like, how did you first see it?
Yeah, how'd you see it on the big screen?
Oh, wow. You know what? That's a really good question. I don't remember, because, okay, we were in Mexico and then we left Mexico. I don't remember a cast and crew screening. I hope there was, but I don't remember. We have to ask Britannia about that. She might remember. But I do remember the first time I saw it, I remember seeing some dailies while we were doing it, but I did not see the entire film until I went to Long Island and I said, I'm going to watch this film with my friends. So I had like 4 friends. I said, oh, let's watch the movie. Let's go see it together. So we went to, it was near Amityville. I mean, it was really fun. And I saw the name on the marquee, and I go to get a ticket, and they asked me for my ID because I looked so young, right?
You're like,
and
I'm in this movie.
I said to them, I'm what made this movie R. I said, you're not, I'm actually the one who made this movie, why I have to give my, so it was that, I remember that specifically being like, this is so ironic that I have to give my ID to see myself in this film. So there you go.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was perfect.
So look, there's a number of other horror movies that you've been in throughout your illustrious career. And I know we don't have as time to go as in depth as we did with Amityville, but I did want to touch on a couple of them, if that's okay with you.
Yes.
Moving on to there. So you were in the 1986 kind of sci-fi horror comedy Terror Vision. And I do have to ask, when you auditioned for this film, what did they tell you about it? Because for me, this film kind of felt like it was somewhere like a cross between almost like a Killer Clowns from Outer Space time movie, which is one of my favorite movies, and like the most insane the most insane episode of Pee-wee's Playhouse. Like, I mean,
the hair and the clothes, especially. Like, what?
Yeah, what was your take on this movie when you were auditioning?
First of all, that is a great description, Pee-wee's Playhouse, because yes, it has that bigger than life feeling, that style. I just did actually a whole interview with Ted Nicolai on this particular film, and I knew from the minute I read the script it was campy and over the top. I knew it. I mean, and we all knew it. All the actors were like, "Oh, this is making fun of the '80s, the exercise, aerobics world, and the sleazy kind of guys with the open shirt and the Valley Girl
excessiveness of the 80s.
Everything,
yeah.
but your hair, your clothes, your jewelry, it's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. Okay, so when I got the script, I had no idea that I was going to look like this character. That was created on the actual set. Like, we actually created it like maybe a few days before they were shooting, like they do fittings and makeup and stuff. But when I got the script, I had just come from doing Better Off Dead. And so my hair was very short and I did not look like a punk rocker. And the role I loved. I mean, I was like, oh my gosh, you're actually hiring me to play something that I look nothing like. And so I was very excited to play it because I wanted to play somebody tough and sarcastic and, just really a typical teenager from the 80s with that, campy thing. I just adored the character. So,
and your brother was played by Chad Allen
in his first film. Yeah.
Yes. And Chad, was the most wholesome, cutest kid in the world. In fact, I just talked to Ted Nicolai about this. Everyone who they cast, so Chad and I, and even, Jonathan Grice, we were just more wholesome people, but yet the story was so weird and just, I don't know. It was a mixture of wholesome and, just Pee Wee Herman. I mean, I was going to say
Killer Clowns meets Pee Wee's Playhouse. yeah. But it's so insane, but it's so much fun to watch because, like you said, it's so over the top. But I had to ask you about it just because it is such a crazy character. It's
colorful, it's fun, and I think of it as, I look at it. Sometimes there's B movies, and you go, okay, there's a B movie. This is I feel like a good B movie. It's in itself, where it's just, you don't expect it. And I think it still holds up. I understand it is like a cult comedy classic now, people are obsessed with it. So I'm happy about that because it was a very fun movie to shoot. Real monster, no CGI monsters. It was goofy. but also it is scary, but goofy scary. Just
yeah, but not the type of scary that's going to give you blocks of gray hair.
absolutely, we're on a whole different
Exactly.
Right.
So then we kind of touched on this, but jumping forward a few decades, when you returned to the Amityville franchise, I guess and now played the mother figure in this ill-fated DeFeo family, and worked with our good friend Daniel Farrens as a director. And just wanted to ask, so how did that all come about, and what were your thoughts like returning to the Amityville franchise?
Oh my gosh. So, okay, Daniel was the most amazing person to hire me to play the mother. First of all, I would never, ever expect I'd be revisiting the franchise. Second of all, for the film to have affected him when he was a kid and him loving it so much and wanting to bring it back was such a compliment. And such a, like, wow, that really, hit you in a place when you were young that you wanted to do this film, write it and direct it as your first film, to do that was obviously incredibly, I was so honored and so taken by that. And the idea of me playing the mother this time, as opposed to the daughter, well, I'm growing up as the mother, was genius. Like, I mean, I knew that was a very exciting thing because there has been no other actress who's ever played the daughter and the mother in essentially the same story.
Yeah.
No other actress has done it. Jamie Lee Curtis has played her same self grown up, but no one's ever played the two different characters. So what happened is I got to experience a different perspective when doing this film. So, and obviously, and this one, is based on the true story. So I did research and a different experience emotionally. But I burst into tears when Daniel asked me, he said, would you, do me the honor of playing Louise DeFeo? I would like you to, and I just burst into tears. I was like, how can this be happening? This is, there are miracles. These are miracles. So like, there you go. So thank you, Daniel. And I'm glad he's your friend because he's such a dear and a dear soul, and he's deep, and things matter to him. These films come from his heart. So he has a lot of respect and care for the things he does. And it's not easy taking a real life situation.
Yeah. We talked to him and exactly.
He's going to be, I said this, this is going to be, again, anything that outsteps the boundaries at the moment, like during the time, is not considered, not rated well. It's not given good reviews because during the time of doing, he's doing real life drama and writing narration to it. It hasn't been done yet. Always the people who step out before others and do something like this are criticized the most. And then years from now, they'll look back and go, wow, he was very brave to do this. And that's kind of an amazing thing that he took these situations and made them narratives and, kind of brought them up again that, terrible things happen, but we can go back and not forget people, this happened to people,
Yeah.
So,
and he is a true horror fan. And like what we love is like, it's like a horror fan making horror movies. And we talked with him about how a lot of these franchises that we love, we feel like would be maybe better taken care of if fans are the ones that are, writing and directing them, because, and I'm talking about the ones that are fictional, of course, but because the fans are the ones that have grown up and for years and years love these characters, want them returned, want to keep them, and like know how to treat them.
It's so cool to see you back on, like doing and Burt Young as well.
Yeah.
My God. That was great that they were able to get him to come. And that I hope that moment when we're on screen together is so real, it's so authentic, it's so sweet, like it was, we just let it be like so genuine, and it was definitely a real moment in the film where we, worked together and
that's the thing. Horror fans
we
love that
that's
kind
what
of
we
thing. Like
see.
love seeing people like yourself who we loved in Amityville II coming back for another Amityville. I mean, it just like makes our days. Like these are the connections and things that I guess you can call it fan service, but who cares? Fan service is good.
Oh, of course it is, because let's face it, obviously it should be, it is about the fans. It is about people, having opinions and being connected to the genre. And, I was funny you say that, like I'm thinking, I even talked to Dan. I'm like, maybe someday I'll play the grandmother, like,
yeah, why not?
If anybody else does it, you just never know, it's just like, it's such an exciting it's exciting, and it's very cool to have things, return. And
Yeah, full circle moment.
I mean, it's amazing. And then
I appreciate you saying that. And I know like a lot of people may have not seen Amityville Murders yet, because by the way, look up Amityville Murders, the movie. Don't look up Amityville Murders online, because you will just get the murders. But right, but it's based on a true story. And if you see it, I'm telling you, like years from now, people are going to be like, wow, like that is just so interesting. No one's ever done this before, just to see the Amityville II and then the Murders one. I think my husband was like, he loved Dane's directing on the film. And it's hard to do something based on a true story, because you can't manipulate the story to the point where maybe it's got an ending that teaches you a lesson, or maybe perhaps it, is even more theatrical. I mean, you would do something based on truth. You have to sort of stay within the realm of the real world. And so that's trickier to watch,
Of course. No, it's definitely a challenge. Yeah, and then moving to the most recent collaboration with Daniel Farrens, you had a role in Ted Bundy, American Boogeyman, which just came out on demand, and playing the mother of one of Ted Bundy's first confirmed victims, Linda Ann Healy. And I was just wondering, what kind of preparation did you do for that role, especially since, again, it was based on a real life event, and also obviously how emotional was it being? We talked about Amityville II, how you didn't have a brother. Well, now you are a mother who has a daughter, and to play a mother who lost her daughter, like how emotional was that to take on that role?
Oh, it was a really difficult part to, it wasn't difficult to play. Obviously I can relate to it. I have my own daughter, but I think the biggest thing for me was I really wanted to give service to those. Look, out there are people who have had family members murdered, and like, for me, when I did that scene, I was saying to myself, I want this moment to be something where it's a bow to them to have to deal with this. And like, in the film, I'm one of the few relatives or family members. So you see how that murder affects the family, so that scene I was given. Daniel said to me when he offered the role to me, he said, it's a very important part in the film, and it changes the direction of the film. And I really wanted it to be a deep moment where people could feel it. And I don't know, you saw the film, you could tell me how it affected you, but I feel like it was a really special moment for me as an actress to play it. And every time I do stuff for Daniel, it's so nice, because
it was incredibly effective. Yeah. Here's the thing.
I wanted more.
It's a small role in the film, but it's a pivotal role. And I think hopefully I'm describing that correctly, because again, it's one thing to see murders and stuff, but it's another thing to see how it affects direct family members, and that anger, that like the wanting to catch the killer of it. And I think it was such a pivotal part to show how these were real people that were murdered, and they had real family members who had to suffer through that.
Yeah, what a thing to tackle.
Yeah, exactly. And I do want to give a shout out to your daughter, Olivia De Laurentiis, who is also in Ted Bundy, American Boogeyman, and American Boogie, Ted Bundy, American Boogie. Woo! No, because she has a very important role in the film, and she did an incredible performance. And just again, want to give a shout out to her, because and we'll be watching for her, because we can't wait to see her and more stuff. And it was really great, a very chilling performance in Ted Bundy. So
what I really liked about with Olivia, first of all, it was a total separate casting thing. She got cast first before Dan, I don't think he didn't even know like we were related. He was like, okay, well, she's the one, and he gave her that part. And I think people have written about her performance, which was really, really lovely. That total strangers, I didn't know her performance stood out and made me so happy. So this film is a very it's very, the acting is really, really good. Oh my gosh, like Chad was wonderful. He was amazing. And oh my God, I'm sorry, like Lynn Shay, I loved her. She's lovely. She did a great job.
She has become a horror icon, she
I wish that we had obviously a cast party, because by the way, people, we shot this during COVID. I mean,
yeah, I heard. First film greenlit?
Right, first film. I didn't want to say like it was the first, but yeah, right. I had heard it was the first film that was greenlit last July for SAG, like to do a SAG film. So we were all nervous, all like, you know, kind of playing it one step at a time. But I had wished that I had met Lynn when we did it, you know. So hopefully in the future I'll meet her in person. But I didn't have a scene with her. But
yeah,
but a great film.
Do you still keep in touch with any of the cast or crew members from any of these films we chat about, or who do you think you keep in touch with the most?
Oh, I think, well, I do keep in touch with people. And
Bert Rudna.
Rutanya.
Don't listen to me. I
Rudna.
can't pronounce anything.
Yeah, no.
Rutanya, yes. Rutanya.
Rutanya.
I do keep in touch with Rutanya. She's in New York. I don't get to talk with her a lot, but yes, Rutanya I keep in touch with. I saw Bert. We talked for a while. I talked to him. But I have to say Amanda Wiss, because Amanda and
I love her.
We do conventions together.
We as fans love when we can see our favorite actors and actresses from these movies at these conventions, because as you can see, like, horror fans are incredibly dedicated and loyal and just very, very appreciative, you know?
And have a great sense of humor and are really sweet, which people, you know, when people hear horror, they get all freaked out. And it's like, no. Horror people are creative people. To me, that's what I see. They're very creative people. They're artistic people. And they're people also like to dress up. I mean, it's like they have kept their youth. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, yeah. Go on.
Yeah, very young, the youngest of all the people.
or at least look the youngest, right?
Exactly.
We have one final question for you, and we ask this to everyone we interview, and it kind of puts people on the spot, but in the best way possible. What is one thing you can tell us about your experience, either, I guess, working on Amityville 2 or any of the films we talked about today, that you've never told in any other interview, to any other podcaster, to any other convention? One little thing that you can tell us, maybe about Amityville 2, I guess, that you've never told any other time to anyone else, even if it's a tiny detail or anything.
It could be like, you know, the wallpapers.
Rutanya skipped lunch every day.
Yes.
Rutanya. I keep saying Rutanya.
Don't see, it's tough.
Anything, and we'll give you a second if you need it.
Yeah, I do. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna try to think of Amityville 2 because I know you guys like that the most.
We love it.
You're like, what's the detail on that? It's good. You're going down memory lane.
Did the kids really paint the pig on the
Yeah.
That was the art department. Darn it. Wait, I'm glad, you know, I'm like thinking about all the different scenes I had to shoot.
When you came back after you were dead and had all the makeup on and were crouched in the corner.
That's very Exorcist.
Oh, okay. So this might be something, although I may have said something, but okay, this kind of, I don't know. It's probably not talked about a lot. Okay, so in the end scene where I'm possessed, and I come in, I say, "You wanted it." That whole scene, right? You wanted it. Okay. Yes, you did, Father. That kind of thing. That scene, they asked me to stick my tongue out and like shake it. Okay. So what happened was, I did it, and then they said, "Oh, now try it with this fake tongue." And I think in previous, somebody asked me once, "Is that your real tongue in the movie?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's my real tongue." But then it occurred to me, like, wait, was it my real tongue? And then what I remembered is they gave me a snake tongue. They actually gave me a snake had the snake things that come on the other side. So I did have must be footage somewhere of me shaking my tongue with a snake tongue coming out, which obviously when we did it, you know, it's all quiet, you know, and you're sticking your tongue out going, blah, 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 you know, it's like, so it was kind of anticlimactic. I was like, okay, I don't understand what this is about, but sure. But they also, there was another thing. They actually also took a cast of my head. You know how like they did a cast of Burt Young's head and they kind of made it explode? And they also did a cast of my head. So I don't know if they intended to show me actually being blown up.
Oh, wow.
Like, I don't know. That's a possibility. And I remember them making the cast, but I didn't know why. And because it wasn't in the script, but I remember them doing that. So maybe that was something that could have been discussed, but they didn't just.
That would have taken it to the next level.
Yeah.
If they had to show
like,
your
like
head being blown off.
Oh wait, in fact, they didn't show Bert's head even being blown up either.
No, not in the
He
final
got shot.
Right. So maybe that was like also like I've seen faces of him and I never knew what that was for. So maybe there was an option where we were all going to be shot and you were going to
wow.
I already was I thought it was mean that he was hitting everybody.
Right.
No, you're right. But he didn't deserve to get his head blown up.
Right.
Yeah, seriously. Right. Yeah. So that might have been something that they were going to move on, that they were going to do, because I mean, I know people followed that piece I've seen like that mask, that head of him having big eyes and stuff and sort of, but I don't know if they ever used it in the film. I don't think so. And you know what, if they had, I don't know if that would have been worse or better.
I think
the movie's great the way it is.
Maybe, definitely nobody would have wanted to see your head blown off. Maybe some people would have wanted to see Burt Young's head blown off because he was such a horrible character, but that's it. Yeah. But Diane, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time today.
Yes.
We have had the best time.
You're so much
fun. Good. I'm glad. That's great. I'm glad.
You are so much fun. And when we get to talk with someone who you can tell is so passionate about these movies that we are so passionate about and just so friendly and full of life, we are so grateful.
Yeah, you are fun.
Yay. All right. Awesome. Well, next time, if there's a screening, please come up to me and say hello.
Yes, we will.
100%. Thank you so much. Seriously.
Thank
you for taking the time. We will definitely be in touch on to when the episode is coming out. And yes, thank you. We've had so much fun.
Yes, you're a delight.
Yay. All right. It's so nice to meet you guys.
Yes, it's great to meet you.
Have a great Sunday.
Yes.
You too.
Okay. Take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye.
Okay, bye. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Happy Horror Time.
This podcast is hosted by Matt Emmer and myself, Tim Murdoch. It's co-produced and edited by Jacob Randall.
We release episodes every Sunday, switching off between reviewing recently released horror films and interviewing horror stars and insiders. And we have a ton of fun along the way.
You can stream all our episodes directly from our website, happyhorrortime.com, or wherever you listen to your podcast. And make sure to follow all our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Happy Horror Time.
If you'd like to support this podcast, please sign up to be a patron at patreon.com/happyhorrortime. Patrons get access to our growing library of bonus episodes where we discuss older horror films, look back at popular franchises, and all kinds of fun horror stuff.
And if you'd like to contact us, send us an email at happyhorrortime@gmail.com. We love hearing from our listeners.
I'm Matt Emmert.
And I'm Tim Murdoch.
And we hope you have a happy horror time.